Hello, welcome to the Not So Modern Housewife. Today we are going to be transplanting tomato seedlings and talking about growing tomatoes from seeds and also why we want to harden them off before we put them outside. This is a method that I have used for the last couple of years. It's worked really well for my tomatoes and I want to share it with you. So to get started, I started my tomato seeds about 8 weeks ago and started them in one of these plug trays. These trays can hold up to 288 seeds. I like them because I can grow a large variety of seeds and I am not investing a lot of soil into starting the seeds in case I get poor germination rates. But typically I get pretty good germination rates, which you can see from my tomato seedlings here. I have multiple varieties, but they're all at about the same stage of growth. I can pop one of these out of here, and you want to be very careful that you're not damaging the root ball at all. I pull up very gently and I kind of tap underneath to make sure I loosen those roots up. But if you need to, if you're worried about damaging the roots, I take one of my plant markers here. And these are a little bit stiffer variety, but they work really well for sticking in there and digging the seedling up. Now, the reason that we want to upplant tomato seeds, and I talked about hardening off. Any plant, I'll take you back to high school biology here for a minute. When a plant cell is first formed, it is very soft. It has very little cellulose. And then as it matures, it gets firmer, the cellulose develops. And that's why we will have very flexible green growth. And then we will have, on the older parts of the plant, we will get very woody, hard growth. The problem when it is in a very green stage is it's very vulnerable. And so we want to try to kind of speed up that hardening process a little bit. So we will introduce it to sunlight, but also we want to introduce a little bit of wind. So if you're starting seeds inside, you may actually want to put a fan on your seeds so that as they grow, they're getting just a little bit of a breeze that's going to help to stiffen that stem. But also with tomatoes, part of the reason that we like to upplant them 2 or 3 times before they actually go in the ground is they will develop roots along their stem. So the deeper we are able to plant them as they grow and as they mature, the deeper that root ball becomes. Until eventually when we're planting it outside, if we have it a foot in the ground, that's going to be a very nice deep root ball that's going to be able to absorb a lot of nutrients, maintain good moisture levels, and then also be able to produce a lot better for you. So I have my tomato plant here, and I've gone ahead and put my potting soil in my container. And this is just a 3.5 inch pot, and I use an organic potting soil mix. I don't use any special seed starting mix or anything like that. I want to try to get my finger as far to the bottom of that pot as I can. And I'm just going to place my seedling down into the base of the pot. And then just kind of cover up that stem. I could actually go, if I had a pot deep enough, or if your seedlings aren't quite as tall as mine, I can go all the way up to these bottom leaves. And in some of my seedlings, I'm not seeing too many here, but if you have lower leaves on your stem, you can go ahead and pick those leaves off and just go ahead and bury as much of that stem as possible.
Hi.
So I'm going to go ahead, put a few more in this tray here. And once you kind of get a rhythm going, this goes pretty quickly. And of course you can see my plant markers here. I want to make sure that as soon as I finish transplanting this one variety, I go ahead and I label it before I move on to the next variety. So I'm not getting any of my tomatoes mixed up. Okay, so that was it for that variety. And I'm going to go ahead, I'll make the labels, but not right this second. Now, I know that I'm using a bagged potting mix and it will have some fertilizer and nutrients in it. However, when I'm dealing with container plants, especially tomatoes, I have to keep in mind that a lot of those nutrients are going to get flushed out every time I water them. So for that reason, I want to go ahead and use a balanced organic fertilizer just on the top that's going to help to give these guys all of the nutrients they need to continue growing. I will turn around and follow this up with a monthly application, but I also want to go ahead and do it as soon as I transplant them. So I'm just going to take a little handful and then I just sprinkle it on these guys, maybe a teaspoon per plant. And then I will go ahead and get my hose here. And I just want to very gently make sure that I give them a good soaking. These guys are pretty strong. They have pretty good stems. However, if you're dealing with younger or more tender seedlings, you want to really be careful that you don't drown them with that first watering, because your soil is going to float a little bit and it could actually bury the seedling and trap it, and then it ends up being damaged. All right, but then I just follow up with my plant markers, continue with the rest of my tomato seedlings here, and that's all. It's a very simple process. Again, once they get a little bit bigger, I could either transplant them into 1 gallon container, or I could go ahead and put them directly in the ground in my garden. If you want to grow tomatoes in a container permanently, you want to use at least a 5 gallon container. For that, I typically use the grow bags, but that is another video for another day. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed. If you would like to get more gardening tips and follow along with the rest of my homesteading journey, please be sure to subscribe. And if you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment below. Thanks, and bye.